Hello and welcome to our monthly plenary report from Strasbourg. Not surprisingly, Egypt topped the agenda this month, with MEPs debating a resolution calling for solidarity with Egyptians and others in the Arab world fighting for democracy. One person was notable by their absence, however.
Catherine Ashton, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs, will visit Egypt next Tuesday following criticism of her slow and wavering response to the uprising that brought about the fall of Hosni Mubarak's regime. She was absent as Parliament debated the situation in the country, however. EPP Group Vice Chair Ioannis Kassoulidis, member of the Committee on Foreign Affairs, did take part in the debate. He emphasized the crucial role of the military.
The Egyptian armed forces have now the responsibility to lead their country in a short period of time to a genuine democracy, rule of law, independent judiciary, good governance and accountability on suspected cases of corruption. The military leadership is cautioned not to disappoint the youth that was at the forefront of the demonstrations, representatives of whom should be called to play their role in building democracy during the transition.
Kassoulidis also made clear that reform is necessary far beyond the borders of Egypt and Tunisia. The entire Arab world and Iran must change.
The message of Egypt is a message for the whole Arab world. The Arab countries are our partners. We have no intention to patronize, neither to impose anything from the outside. The message, though, for them, as sent by the Egyptians and the Tunisians, is reform and reform now.
Since June 2009, CO2 emissions from passenger buses have been limited by law. Now, MEPs have voted to do the same for light commercial vehicles as part of their overall emissions reduction strategy for fighting climate change.
There was substantial disagreement in committee over the exact targets to be set and the means for achieving them. But Austrian MEP Richard Seeber, vice coordinator for the EPP group on the Environment Committee, said that overall the group was happy with the compromises adopted in plenary. The new rules set achievable limits for greenhouse gas emissions for the type of light commercial vehicles used most often by SMEs. Limits will be set at 175 grams of CO2 per kilometre from 2014, gradually decreasing to 147 grams by 2020, giving both manufacturers and users planning security. Although it foresees penalties for excess emissions, the new legislation focuses more on incentives, with credits for vehicles that meet or improve on the new standards before they come into force. MEPs hope this will encourage innovation and speed up entry into market of environmentally friendly vehicles. Mr. Seeber said it was the economic aspects of the dossier which were most challenging. Small and medium-sized enterprises will be the most affected by the new limits, but are also the engine of Europe's economic growth.
Of course, the whole transport chain has to share the burden of reducing pollution, but we didn't want to have any link in the chain so weak that everything would break. And of course, when I say this, I mean that the SMEs mustn't have such a heavy burden to bear that they're unable to do so.
This week, MEPs also voted on 3 key issues that we've covered here on EPP TV in the last few months. Issues relating to EU enlargement, pensions and passenger rights.
Croatia is likely to become the 28th member of the European Union within the next couple of years. MEPs have been discussing Croatia's progress towards membership this week. They highlighted significant efforts to combat corruption and organised crime and initiatives to reform the judiciary. Meanwhile, Croatia's Prime Minister Jadranka Kosor, a member of our EPP political family, gave an upbeat assessment of her country's prospects at an EPP group meeting. Pensions policy is always a controversial issue. As a society, we're ageing and we're also living longer, which means that the cost of providing pensions is likely to soar in the decades ahead, unless we take action to make state pension systems more sustainable. Dutch EPP member Ria Oomen-Ruijten authored a resolution on sustainable pension systems which was approved by MEPs this week.
We want the European Union to negotiate with member states that they come up with pension systems which are not only safe but are also sustainable. So that means savings are needed.
New rights for intercity bus and coach passengers have been approved this week. Already airline passengers and train travellers have the right to compensation if services are delayed or cancelled, and the same goes for those using ferries and other forms of maritime transport. The MEP who steered this latest passenger rights legislation through the Parliament was Italian EPP member Antonio Cancian.
I would hope that this struggle, we could call it, will continue. This struggle between transport companies and the rights of citizens. This struggle can only be good. It ensures better service and respect for minimum standards.
That's all for this month, but we'll be back in just 2 weeks with news from the March session. In the meantime, keep up to date on eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.